On a hot summer afternoon, Ayesha climbed the old wooden stairs of her grandmother Noor's house. The power had gone out again, and the silence of the house pressed in on her. She had always been curious about the attic, a place no one spoke much about, but always kept locked away as though guarding secrets of its own. Today, curiosity won. She pushed the heavy attic door open, and the smell of time hit her, a mixture of dust, old paper, and wood polished long ago but left to fade. The floor creaked under her weight as she stepped inside. Shafts of sunlight streamed through cracks in the roof, catching dust particles that floated like tiny golden sparks in the air. Stacks of trunks, faded photo frames, and forgotten furniture filled the space. Ayesha ran her hand over an old rocking chair, imagining her grandmother sitting there as a young woman. She felt almost like an intruder in a private museum of lives lived before her. As she explored, her eyes landed on a small wooden box pushed far behind a pile of suitcases. The box was plain, unremarkable, but something about it pulled her closer. Its rusty lock was already broken, as if time itself had chosen to release what was inside. She sat cross-legged on the wooden floor, heart thumping strangely, and pulled the box onto her lap. Inside, tied neatly with a faded ribbon, were bundles of letters. The paper had yellowed, but the ink still held firm, as though the emotions they carried refused to fade. She untied the ribbon and unfolded one carefully. The handwriting was elegant, almost lyrical. She read aloud softly. "My dearest Noor, I see you every day, and yet you are farther from me than the stars. My silence is not the absence of love, but the weight of loyalty that binds my tongue. If there is another life beyond this one, I hope you will know there that I have loved you all my life." Ayesha froze. Noor, her grandmother's name. She glanced at the signature at the bottom, Hamza. She knew that name. Hamza uncle, the man her grandfather once called his closest friend. But never, not once, had anyone hinted that he had loved her grandmother. Her pulse quickened as the attic seemed to close in around her. She turned the letter over, touched the paper as though touching his unspoken heart. This was not just paper, it was a story, hidden for decades, waiting for her to find it. Over the next several days, Ayesha returned to the attic again and again. Every letter revealed a new layer of Noor and Hamza's story. The letters began innocently, notes about the weather, about books they both loved, about simple everyday moments. But woven between the lines was something deeper. Hamza wrote of Noor's laughter, how it filled entire rooms, how her kindness could disarm even the harshest of tempers. He described moments only a person deeply in love would notice, her habit of tucking her hair behind her ear, the way she bit her lip when reading. But always, there was restraint. He never wrote of love directly at first. Instead, his words circled around it, building a world of devotion hidden beneath loyalty. As the letters continued, the feelings grew bolder. "You are the poem I dare not write," one letter said. Another confessed, "Every time I see you, my heart fights between joy and despair, because you are near yet forever out of reach." Through Hamza's words, Ayesha saw glimpses of a younger Noor, a girl filled with grace and light, caught between her own choices and the expectations of family. And she saw Hamza too, a man of deep emotion, but held back by loyalty. For Noor had been promised to someone else, Hamza's best friend, the man who would become Ayesha's grandfather. The heartbreak was palpable. Hamza never confessed aloud. He wrote instead, pouring himself into paper, knowing the words would never reach her hands. He remained silent, loyal, present at Noor's wedding, smiling beside his best friend, while his heart bled quietly. Ayesha cried as she read, feeling the weight of a love story that had never been lived. Part 3, Reflections of the Past. When Ayesha finished the last letter, she sat in the attic long after sunset, the words echoing in her chest. Hamza's silence reminded her painfully of herself. For she too carried a secret love in her Heart, Daniyal. Daniyal had been her childhood best friend. She remembered chasing kites with him on rooftops, sharing snacks in school, laughing until their stomachs hurt. He had been the first to defend her in school fights, the first to encourage her when she doubted herself. And somewhere in those years, her friendship had turned into something more. But she had never said it. She had let time carry them apart. He left for another city, another life. They stayed in touch for a while, but then silence grew between them until he became only a memory that tugged at her heart. Reading Hamza's letters made Ayesha wonder if she was destined to repeat the same mistake. Would she too let her love remain unspoken, locked away until it became nothing but regret? Her chest tightened as she thought of Daniyal's smile, his voice, the way he once said, "You'll always be my best friend." Best friend. Nothing more. Or had there been something hidden in his tone she had never dared to explore? Inspired by Hamza, Ayesha began to write. She bought a notebook and filled it with letters addressed to Daniyal. She did not plan to send them. They were for herself, a way to free her heart. Her first letter was hesitant. She wrote about childhood memories, about the banyan tree where they carved their names, about the time he ran through the rain just to bring her an umbrella. As the days passed, her words grew braver. She wrote of how she missed him, of how silence had been cruel between them, of how her heart still held him close. "If I could tell you one truth," she wrote in one letter, "it is that no matter the years, you never left me." Each night she poured her soul into the pages. The more she wrote, the lighter she felt. As if Hamza himself whispered through time that silence must not win again. Her letters became a secret lifeline, a bridge between past love and present hope. Fate, however, has a strange way of working. One afternoon, while preparing some documents for work, Ayesha accidentally slipped one of her letters into an envelope meant for posting. She did not realize it until days later, when her phone rang with a familiar voice she had not heard in years. Ayesha. It was Daniyal. Her heart leapt to her throat. "I received your letter." His tone was soft, uncertain, but trembling with emotion. She stammered, trying to explain, but he stopped her gently. "Do you know how many times I wished you had said those words? How many times I almost said them myself?" Her breath caught. Tears welled in her eyes. Years of silence dissolved in that moment. All the regrets she had carried felt suddenly lighter, replaced by the warmth of hope. When they met again, time melted away. Daniyal looked at her as though no years had passed at all. They talked for hours, about the past, about the silence, about the love both had hidden. And in that moment, they finally confessed, laughing through tears at how foolish they had been to wait so long. Later, Ayesha shared with her grandmother the letters she had found. Noor listened quietly, eyes shimmering with memories long buried. She smiled softly and whispered, "Some stories remain unfinished so that others may find their endings." In Ayesha's love with Daniyal, Noor found peace for what had been lost with Hamza. The silent love of the past had blossomed into a hopeful love of the present. And as Ayesha held Daniyal's hand, she realized some letters are never truly forgotten, they simply wait for the right hands to hold them. The end.